Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of The Gun Show, Women Talking Guns by Mama Bear Defense. The Gun Show is sponsored by Greyman Solutions, Greyman Solutions.net. They are an American holster company that come up with solutions to your everyday carry needs. You can get a discount if you type in MAMABEAR, that is Mama Bear, at your checkout. Thank you so much, Greyman, for your support, and we just love what you do and love your quality work. Well, it is just me, Crystal, starting off the episode today. Everyone is enjoying their long weekend, myself included, and we filmed our interview with Kelsey earlier in the week, but it wasn't enough time to get all of the news for this week in. We didn't have enough time between the episodes, so we wanted to wait until later so we could give you the latest and greatest of what happened this week. So let's start with some good news. We got the results for August, and not surprising, August gun sales were record-breaking. So let me spout out some facts here. They were record-breaking in background checks and firearm sales. There was an estimated 1.7 million gun sales in August. I just love this. This is making me so happy. Welcome. Welcome to all you Americans exercising your rights. The National Shooting Sports Foundation surveyed multiple gun stores throughout the nation. And from the survey, they gathered that 58% of firearms purchases were by Black men and women, which is awesome. We're expanding. Everyone should partake of this right, and I'm glad that the minorities are jumping on board. Women comprised of 40% of first-time gun purchases out of all of them. So good news for the gun community. Next up, we have some more controversial news. Joshua Powell, an ex-leader of the NRA, is releasing a book called Inside the NRA. He is actually releasing this book on September 8th, Tuesday, so the day we release this video. And in his book, he has some hefty claims about the corruption of the NRA, especially against Wayne LaPierre. He says that there was misappropriation of funds, $542,000 spent on private jets for his own personal use. He claims hundreds of millions of dollars of wastage and fraud for the president of the NRA. Here's the kicker, though. Joshua Powell is currently under investigation for illegal conduct and inappropriate spending of the NRA, and that was ultimately why he was dismissed from his role as a leader within the NRA. So take it with a grain of salt there. He is actually under investigation through, I believe it was the state of New York. So I don't know, should be interesting. Maybe I'll pick up the book and look into it. Lastly, I wanted to give you all an update about our St. Louis couple. The one that, I mean, you all know, the one with the couple that had their guns outside of their very lavish mansion in St. Louis, where the Black Lives Matter riot or protest broke down their gate and was walking towards their property. The McCloskeys went into their first round of court, or just appeared, and they were charged with felonies. This is charged, not convicted, right? So this is the charges against them. October 6th is when they will go in for trial. And what's also interesting is they spoke at the Republican National Convention. I watched what they spoke about. It was interesting, I guess. It seemed more of a fear-mongering talk about this could happen to you. And I mean, part of it's kind of true, but we really do want them to succeed, because if you're not allowed to protect your home when you have a group of people invading on your private property, then that's a problem. Even if they did it in a way that's not the most ideal manner. Some other interesting things to note about their case: no one that broke into their community, their gated community, was arrested. Also, the governor, Parson, of their location told a radio station that based on the current information that he has received, he will likely pardon them of all of their charges. So I guess we'll see October 6th. There is your gun news for the week. There was some sad things that happened this week, but it wasn't really related to guns per se as far as our rights in the Second Amendment. So, I mean, there were some deaths and whatnot. I mean, there's always deaths, right? But nothing that really affects the Second Amendment, which is what we like to focus on. And now, get ready for the interview with Kelsey. I also have a B minor who is joining in on this interview. So enjoy. Well, I'm really excited about our guest today. Our guest is Mama Bear trainer Kelsey Decker. Woohoo! Thanks for joining.
Happy to be here.
Kelsey is a doctor. Yeah, Mama Bear scored doctor in physical therapy. She owns, I'm writing down because her list is long, guys. She owns a functional fitness physical therapy gym.
Business.
What
do you want to call it?
Functional fitness physical therapy business. And you can find that if you want to get in that. It's kelseydecker.com. And you can service people that are not local. You can service people remotely for that. Yep. Your specialty is with postpartum, correct?
Yep. The majority of my clients are actually online.
So wherever you are listening to this, if you want to get healthy from a doctor, that's pretty legit. You have access, and I've seen her prices. She is very reasonable. She also is the Mama Bear Defense owner of the location, the Northern Utah County. She is an NRA pistol instructor and shot the instructor's socks off. He had zero advice for her. She was that good. And her husband is current law enforcement. She's a mother of 3. So woohoo, Kelsey is awesome. And
hi, Kelsey.
The reason we have her today is because she just completed the tactical games. Barbara has some questions for you. So Barbara, shoot away.
Gosh, how did they score it? How did you do today?
It's kind of crazy. So the tactical games is a 2-day event. And each day they have 3 stages, but they call them battles. So if you're in if you do other firearms competitions, it's similar to a stage, but they call them battles. And each battle has a pretty intensive physical element, and then obviously a shooting piece that goes with it. And you're scored based on your time, and then your shots, missed shots count as penalties against you. So every missed shot is a 10 seconds added to your time. And your time at the end, plus your penalties, is your final time for the battle. So at the end, they take all the final times and put them all together, and that's kind of how you get your ranking and go through it. Every once in a while, they'll have a bonus on an event. So we had one event that had a bonus. So if you got through the physical component and the shooting component, you could pick up a sandbag that was ridiculously heavy and carry it 25 meters, and every 25 meters you were able to take 20 seconds off of your time.
Oh, well, before you tell me what your score was, because I know that was a double question, I think, can you explain some of the physical things? There are physical trials and then also the shooting components. I saw hard physical trials. Will you explain some of those?
Do you want me to go through all of them, or do you want me to give you a general rundown? Because there was 6, and they were all
we
very
could go through them.
Yeah, go for
Let us
it.
know.
So the first day, the first one was a running-based battle. So we had 30 rounds in our rifle mag at the top of this ridge, and we had 5 different shooting stations for 3 targets that were kind of across a little gully. You had to put 2 shots on each still target and then move to the next station.
What
2
if
shots.
you didn't hit him?
Then it was a missed shot. So you can't go back and make it up because you only have 30 rounds. So the first one we had, like, it wasn't a full VTAC board, but it was kind of like the bottom half of a VTAC board. You just had to make contact with the barrier. The second shooting station was a tree. You had to make contact.
VTAC board. What is this terminology?
It's just a barrier that has different cutouts in it, and it's kind of like stepped down. I don't know, if you Google VTAC board, you'll see it. And it was just part of it. It wasn't a full VTAC board, but it was kind of like one. That's what everybody kept calling it. It wasn't a full one, but it was similar. You just had to your rifle had to make contact with the VTAC board. So it could be your mag, it could be your handguard. Somewhere you had to be touching all of these barriers. So the first one was the board. The second one was a tree. Yeah. Okay. So we just had kind of like
that.
Yeah. So it wasn't a full one, but it was similar to that. The tree, a car. There was a car, so you had to pick somewhere on the car to make contact. A slanted roof. And then
did you have to touch it there, or did you have to shoot off?
You had to shoot from there. Yeah, You had to be contacting while you're shooting. So it was good because it gave you a dead rest for your rifle, which was good for me. And then the last one was proned out on the ground. And you just you moved across. So your angle on the targets changed as you moved through the stations. So after you got the 30 shots off, you had to sling your rifle, make it safe. And then you had to run about a half a mile down and up to another shooting station. They had a platform. You proned out on the platform, and you had to do 10 shots, 6 shots, 4 shots on successively increasing distances. And then when you're done with that, hop up, run up a hill again, and then all the way back to the start. So that was the first one.
Like so long. How many miles total?
It was just over a mile.
Okay. Total. So it's not too long.
It wasn't too bad, but the elevation was like up and down because you started on top of a ridge, you came all the way down, and then you went back up, and then all the way down, and then back up again. So that's where it was tough. That was the only event of the weekend that wasn't time capped. Everything else was we had a time cap. This one, it was because you can't cut it off in the middle, or else you're stuck like in the middle of a goalie. So everybody got to finish that one. And then we moved on to one that had a weighted wheelbarrow. I don't know if you've seen them before, but the front plate was actually like a 35-pound plate that you would put on a barbell. And there was this big metal wheelbarrow, and then they had a plate on the wheelbarrow as well. So we had to pick that up and take that a certain distance and come back. And then we had to do hostage poppers, which are terrible. So it's like the silhouette, A-zone silhouette with a popper target right here that flips from side to side when you hit it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they were, I don't know how far they were. They were hard to see. You had to hit that with your rifle. And then.
Okay, I got to know right off. Was that wheelbarrow seriously a 3-wheeled one?
No, it was just 1 wheel.
Oh, man. Well, and now they have some that are 2-wheeled, I meant.
No,
it was just 1 wheel. That's what I was looking for. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So your hostage popper was not a different color?
It was when they started our battle group, but we had the elite athletes go before us and they shot the crap out of them. So all the paint was basically off of them by the time we got to shoot them. So it was pretty hard to see, but.
Were they like a circle or was it the side
Yeah.
head?
No,
Okay.
they were like that white and red one. And then there was some pistol shots with that as well. And then if you had time, you got to do a second lap of it, which I think most of us timed out of that one because it was pretty challenging. And then the third one of the day is the one that you guys saw with the rope climbs. So there was farmer carries, the rope climb,
During
carry
that.
big stone that was 95 pounds. And then
95 pounds?
Yeah.
That did not look that heavy. You all
And
just,
then
yeah.
I'm stronger than I look.
I know. I thought that was like, 45, 50 pounds.
And then the shooting on that one was, I can't remember the round count, but there was a pistol shoot that was closer, and then there was a distance out rifle one, and it was all freestanding, unsupported. So if you couldn't make the rope climb, you could do burpees. We had to make a real good effort to make the rope climb. And if you slipped and fell down at the top and rope burned your hand, you still had to do burpees at the end.
Like you did.
Yes. I do recommend, but it was good.
It was your foothold, I think. Like if you just had one more reach to go and your foothold just let go. And
what I was doing is I was getting ready to move my feet up and my hands let go as I took my feet off and I just put down. So that was good. It was really good. Ice was really important Saturday night. And cream. And then Sunday morning we did some sled drags and some popper pistol targets. So the small ones. And then we did one that had like a 0.8 mile run and then one hand right hand shots, one hand left hand shots, freestyle, however you want to do it, pistol shots, and then headshots with a rifle, which that was my best shooting sequence, was the headshots. And then we finished up with some good old sandbag throwing and some freestanding rifle shooting and pistol shooting. So it was
wow. Wow.
Do you do the battles all together, like in a row, or do you have a break between them? How does that work?
You have a pretty good break. So they put you in a group, they put you in a squad, which is like your heat and a lane. I was in heat 6. And I was the last heat of my battle group that went around. So we had the elite group was with us. So they were heats 1 through 4. And then there was a group of women for heat 5, and then we were heat 6. And we kind of went around, and they had the intermediate men. They had like a bunch of groups, 7 or 8 groups of them. And then they had the masters, the rest of the intermediate, and the lights in a group. And we all just rotated around the 3 stations. The North Spring shooting range is huge. So they had us all spread out all over the place. And they gave a pretty good amount of time in between for resting and getting your mags loaded and gear set up and ready to go. So my husband and I both competed, but we were actually in different groups. So we were never at the same battle. He was able to pop over and watch a couple of mine because he went before me, but we were always somewhere else.
So how did you feel about it?
I felt exactly how I figured I would feel about it, which is kind of a silly answer. I felt going into it pretty confident in my fitness level that I would do okay on the tasks just because the training I put in, I felt like I was going to be pretty solid there. And that was how it turned out. I was hanging with or coming in first most of the time. On the fitness side of things, supported rifle shooting went great for me. Those were my best shots. The headshots, I went 20 for 20, which was like, came off that
perfect.
Done. Like I'll just go home now. Like can't top that one. And I struggled with this unsupported standing. And then the pistol, you think you're a good pistol shooter until you go and do it after you've run.
Right.
And the target is like this big, and then you're like, oh, maybe not such a good pistol shooter.
Yeah.
So I struggled quite a bit with the pistol, which was a little frustrating, but I also knew going into it that that was going to be my weak spot, and it was. So
How was it for other people?
how was it for other people?
Yeah.
Well, we had quite a few. Well, we had 2 people that had done it before, so they knew a little bit more what to expect and how to train for it. And we had quite a few people that were law enforcement. I say quite a few people. There were 7 women, so our women's group was pretty small, but almost half of them were law enforcement or very experienced in competitive shooting, and so they kind of knew what to expect. This was my first shooting competition ever. So just jump in feet first, I guess. And so I was just kind of going to figure out to see where I needed to put more training in. Standing on a firing line at the range, I do fine, but asked me to go run and throw a sandbag first and then asked me to come stand is a different story. So it was a good learning experience for me on where I need to work with my pistol, kind of where my weak spots are, where my strengths are. So I felt good, and I wasn't surprised about how things turned out for me this weekend.
Okay, I was like, I don't know if Barbara's going to ask a question or me.
I have so many questions.
And Barbara and I keep talking over each other, so I was giving Barbara space to jump in, and then she just... Okay, you can ask.
Well, I don't want to leave the question hanging too long. How was your score?
It was okay. It's the way they design it, and I totally get it, because they want it to be a shooting-based competition. If you struggle with your shots, you can't out-fitness your shots. And so
Gotcha.
I could go in and I could outdo everybody on the physical side, but I was getting outshot on every single stage. So I came in 7th out of 7.
Oh.
But like I said, I went into it with the idea of, I just want to go and see how this goes. I want to know what to prepare for the next time. And the ladies that I was competing with, I'm not going to say against, because we were all there together. Like, there's some badass women that are in there. Like,
their arms were like, boom.
Like, you can't feel bad coming in 7th behind all of these awesome women that are just out here just kicking ass. Like,
yeah,
you can't feel bad about it. So it was awesome.
Do they weight them equal, or is shooting heavier than fitness?
With a 10-second penalty for every shot missed, I would say there's definitely more focus placed on the shooting side of things. Because, I mean, the battle yesterday morning with the sled pull, there was 45 shots. So, I mean, if you didn't get a good amount of those shots, it doesn't matter how fast you're running with the sleds, you're getting 10 seconds for every shot that you drop. So it's definitely in your best interest to try and make sure that you're accurate and fast, but it's better for you to slow down and take a second or two rather than take a missed shot and take 10 seconds. The other issue we ran into on the first day more so, it wasn't as bad on the second day, but a lot of us women kept timing out on the first day with the 12-minute time cap, and every round that's still in your mag counts as a missed shot. So if you didn't get to the last round of something and you still have 30 rounds on your belt, that's 300 seconds of missed shots. So luckily that was pretty across the board. If most of us didn't finish, like, we were all there, but it is like, it's missed shots. So it's kind of tough.
Wow. Yeah.
Dang. Do you have any idea of how the time is as you're going through, or no?
I started using my watch after the first day, because some of the judges do and some of them don't. And sometimes if you ask like for time, you may not hear them yell because you got ear pro on. There's other people shooting like beside you, you're going in a heat. So the first day I didn't start my watch, which I should have, because then I would have had a better idea. The second day on all the time capped ones, I started my watch, so I had an idea of where I was at. So that personally, I should have done the first day. It would have helped, I think.
Okay, now that we're on it.
Yeah.
What was the effective training? What was the things that you'll leave out for future? Give us the tips and tricks.
So the training program, I switched in March, I think. I started using a program called Street Parking. They're an online-based program that's kind of a CrossFit-ish program, but it's all designed to be done like at home or in a garage gym. And I picked that because they have sandbag versions of all of their workouts. And I knew that that was where I was going to be headed once we found an event to sign up for. As soon as we registered for this event, which was about 9 weeks before the event, I put my barbell away and I only did dumbbells or sandbag workouts. Sandbag showed up twice in the event, but then there was a lot of like farmer's carries, as you saw, or like odd object manipulation and a lot of grip strength that you needed. And so I switched to the sandbag and the dumbbell because I felt like that was going to better prepare my grip and my object handling. And I think it did, because I didn't feel like any of aside from the rope climb, there wasn't really any obstacle that we got there and I was like, no, I think I can handle this, because it's similar to what I've been training with. And so I think getting away from the bar and like, I didn't need to squat heavy to be able to do this kind of stuff. I needed to be able to go hard for 12 minutes and I needed to be able to have the grip strength to pick things up. I needed to be able to solve problems as they were like given to me. And if you've ever worked out with a sandbag, like that's a whole new experience. If you haven't done it, I highly recommend it, because it is. It's like my sandbag is filled just under 50 pounds, and doing a 50-pound squat with that is way different than doing 50-pound squat with the bar, just because of how the weight shifts and weight moves. So that for me was one of the big things, was just shifting away from the bar and more to that, like just go hard for 20 or 12 minutes, hard for 15 minutes, take something that's hard, use those objects that are different, and kind of mix it up.
How do you think you'll improve the shooting?
Just more practice. Honestly, I didn't put a ton of, the beginning of 2020, my husband and I talked about it, and the goal for me for 2020 was to complete a tactical games event. That's new. I knew I wanted to do that. So I started out the year kind of physically working towards that. I didn't start training the firearm side of it until we registered for the event, or a little bit before. And so like, it just wasn't the same. I didn't put the same amount of time and effort into it. I did a lot of dry fire practice in my garage, but it wasn't like running and then hopping off, and it wasn't worrying about like long range targets. It was within my garage. I don't want to freak my neighbors out doing dry fire practice, out on the sidewalk. So, I mean, we have a training pistol that we were using, but still like your garage is only so big. So practicing on different targets when they're only 10 yards away it helps, but it's not as effective as something that's when you're shooting 25, 30-yard targets. So.
Well, did you use your Glock for your pistol? And 19. What rifle?
Use my Glock 19. And then we built, for my birthday, I built myself a AR on a pistol platform. So I don't remember the 14.5-inch barrel, I think, but it's all lefty.
For you.
For me.
Right.
But I will say, and I don't know, maybe this is jumping the gun a little bit. Jumping the gun. One of my, I was telling my husband, there was a lot of things I was really proud of this weekend, but two of my proudest moments were actually not even like, they weren't related to like how I shot or how like I did an event. It was related to how I handled my firearm.
Yeah.
So on the last event, on the first day, I got back after doing the stone carry, put the stone down, went up and loaded up my pistol. And I think the bolt must have dropped as I was loading it. And then
Your pistol or your rifle?
Or my rifle, sorry, my rifle. The bolt must have dropped as I was loading it. And then I pulled the charging handle and I got double feed, like really, really bad. One of those where if you're at the range with your spouse who shoots a lot, you normally would just hand it over and say, here, fix this, because this is really, it was really jammed in there.
Heavy. You have to really, yeah.
And it wasn't, and I was, you pull the mag out and you start trying to work it out, and it wasn't coming out. And I'm on the clock,
Right.
And so my proud moment for the weekend was I was able to problem solve that and actually get the jam get the double feed fixed and move on without getting too flustered or upset. It was just kind of like, okay, like, let's work this out. What can I do? So I
So
ended
what did you do?
I ended up locking the bolt back. After I ripped the mag out, before I locked it back, I tried to just rack it to get it out. It didn't work. Locked it back. And I had to take one of my, because I couldn't get my hand in there to get it out. It's not a big space. So I took a round out of the mag and put my hand up in and was able to pull one of them out, and then it came out. So
wow.
So that was one, and because he was watching down at the end, he had no idea what was going on. So then I get down and I was like, this was stupid, but I got it. And I felt pretty awesome. So I was able to get that done. And then because my gun is an ambidextrous or a lefty, a lot of the parts are ambi parts, my safety selector, I can do it on either side. The left side came undone somehow, and it was just hanging down. So it's still functional on the right side, but the selector on the left was not working. And so we didn't have the right tool to fix it. Somehow we didn't have it in our range bag. So the next day, the other proud moment was I was able to fix it myself. I found someone who had the stuff, got some Loctite. My husband was already at his other battle, put it back together, and we were good to go. So
nice.
Like, my two proud moments of the weekend, besides the 20 headshots, were fixing my gun.
Heck yeah. Confidence booster.
Yeah, it's just like a big deal for me when you're used to having someone else like either talk you through it or help you figure it out, to be able to problem solve that on your own. Like, I don't know. It probably sounds silly, but for me, like, that was a big deal. So
I don't think that's silly at all.
Nope.
Especially because firearms, there's so much, and usually a lot of people will specialize, will pick one thing and become really into that thing. And then there's other types of firearms that we're like, yeah, we're kind of familiar, but not super specialized. So that
Yeah.
I feel if I had a double feed with an AR, I would also be in a difficult situation. Like, yeah. So that's awesome. Congratulations. What's next?
I don't know. I definitely want to do another one. We're just going to try to figure out when and where is going to be the best time. I've got something professionally that I got to take care of with my physical therapy stuff in the next couple months. So I got to turn my attention away from a shooting competition to that for a little bit. As much fun as the shooting is, I got to get this taken care of first, but then
the job needs attention. Did most people travel?
Yeah, I did not meet very many people from Utah this weekend.
Oh.
Wow.
A lot of people.
And now I'm looking. Yep, I'm looking at the tactical games events. I'm seeing 8 states that have events.
Yeah.
California is not listed, so I'm not thinking this is a comprehensive list, but is it in every state?
No, it's not. It's new. So I actually talked to one of the girls that was competing, has been competing basically since they started or close to it. And this is only their second full year of running events. And so they're definitely growing. I stumbled on them last year on Instagram somehow. Kind of went down like the competitive shooting hole on Instagram and ended up at the tactical games page. And that's kind of where I found it. But yeah, it's definitely a newer, I think, event as far as shooting sports go. It's definitely different because it's not like 3-gun where you're just going for like a bat out of hell, going super, super fast. Like, there's definitely got to have some strategy into how fast you're going versus missed shots. And I don't know, it was fun.
Yeah, I really like that there's a fitness component to it, that I know it seems a little bit more comprehensive, although we should have brought on some we have some competitive shooter mama bears. Should have brought some of them on and then they'd be like, what are you talking about? The Olympic track shooting.
For me, I like the fitness component for me was the big draw, because I don't think I would ever go to a fitness only competition, because that's not my thing either. I like the more functional blend of like, yeah, you're going to go do some running, you're going to go move some heavy stuff, but then you got to be able to gather yourself and be able to put shots on a target, or, you know, that for me that was the big draw for me, was the combination of the two. And like I said, I haven't done like a pure, like just shooting competition, and fitness competitions are not something that I'm interested in either, but the blend of the two was awesome. And I'll probably try to add in a couple more shooting competitions just to practice and get a little bit more experience. And they're easier to come by than 8 events a year, you know, but for me, the blend of the two was definitely a big draw for me on this one.
Yeah, I really want, since I talked to you, I've been looking at it and I'm like, oh, I really want to do it. But closest one to me is Texas, like central to southern Texas. And then there's one in Minnesota. I mean, these are like, I would probably fly to them. So,
yeah.
Kels, I gotta know what it would take to get both of you to go to the Tactical Games National Championship over Thanksgiving, right? Is that November 14th?
No, there's a team one. There's a team match in South Carolina.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, a team, that might be fun.
And here's my exciting part. I placed 7 out of the women, which is awesome, like I said. But I placed 69th out of 78, so I was not last.
You were nuts.
Not last.
All right. That's a win. But you know what? That person who was last, still showed up. Yeah. They're putting in the additional time. Like, celebrate that they're there. Although, celebrate when you're not last.
Right. Well, somewhat like you're still passing everybody who's sitting on the couch, you know. If you're and you're last, you're still there. And my whole goal I had 3 goals going into this whole weekend, and it was to finish everything, not in the sense of finish under the time cap, but be able to do everything that I was asked to do, which I did, to be able to do it safely, because, you know, firearms, that's a good thing. And I never had any safety violations, so that was good. And then the third was just to not look like an idiot. And I think that was mostly achieved. So, and I was like, you know what, if I come out last and I met those 3 things, then I don't care. Like, I did what I wanted to do going into the weekend, and then I can go forward and make plans for the next time around. So all around, like, I feel it was a good weekend.
Yay.
If you had one thing to say to encourage other women who want to do this, what would you say?
You totally can. Don't think that you can't do it, because you can't judge someone's ability to complete these kind of events based on how they look. You can look at someone and think that, oh my gosh, they're going to do amazing because they're super jacked out and they've got like all the best gear, all that kind of stuff, and they might not make it past the first obstacle on one of these events, whereas someone who is tall and skinny and has, you know, off the shelf
saw the placers.
Yeah.
That chick who I was like was super jacked, she didn't place.
Yeah, she's super awesome, but there was some things that she struggled with, and the 3rd place gal was amazing, and she probably weighed 95 pounds.
Yeah,
and
she was so skinny.
Of all of us. And so it's like, you have no idea, you know, who's been training in a certain way, who's going to be able to do what skill, and you can't judge someone's shooting ability based on the gear they have or how they look. And so if you want to go do it, then put in the time, go to the range and go for it. Like, the environment there was so amazing and so incredibly supportive that, like, if you want to put in the work and go do it, like, you're not going to feel out of place. I was really concerned because I'm not law enforcement, not a competitive shooter. Like, this is my first time. This is not my world.
You're not a veteran.
No, this was not my world. This was me stepping into like what I felt like was my husband's world a little bit more. This was not my world. And I was feeling like, I'm going to go in here and people are going to look at me like I'm this total outsider, like I don't belong here. And I never once felt like that this whole weekend. It was just a very inclusive, supportive environment, and it was awesome.
But they have their next schedule up. So they do have a Florida one I'm looking here. So the Texas, the Arizona one's October. Then there's West Virginia. January? That's too soon. Too soon.
Not ready yet.
So maybe
You've
the
got
time-
growing babies, Crystal. You're so fit right now. What's your average weight you're carrying around half the day?
Oh, that's not the same. Not
Hell,
the same.
Yeah. I
It
took
does
a
help.
video. I took a video and I didn't end up posting it, but I was gonna post it with this is how moms train for the tactical games, and I was carrying my 2 toddlers up and down the stairs a bunch of times because they wanted me to carry them. But one's like 45 pounds and one's 35 pounds. Like
one of them here, one of them here.
Yeah, my baby's a chunk. Okay, so I think that I do get some sort of, like, my left arm, my carrying arm, pretty good there.
Dude, my fantastic mom build didn't start fading into Pepsi calories for like 10 whole years, guys. This legit.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. You know what though? This is something I do think eventually I could see us helping other people getting into this and helping other people train for competitions. I would love to get more Mama Bears students and trainers into more competitions.
Well, and just the confidence that comes from being able to go do something like this. Like I got up from so I did the run event with the rifle shooting was my first event. And I probably had one of my best shooting runs on that one as well, because it was all supported rifle shooting. But like I'm running back and I'm like, you know what? I just nailed those 20 shots down range. Like I feel awesome right now. And you come back and you just, your comfort level and your confidence level and your abilities, whether you go in and like bomb all of your shots or not, the fact that you're like, they're showing up, you're safe handling your firearm, you know, feel like you can manipulate through the jams or any kind of thing that you're going to come up with to be able to walk through that and be like, I didn't freak out, I didn't lose my calm, and we didn't have any safety issues. Like I feel pretty awesome right now. And I was able to hit the target a few times too. Like
a few times bonus.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
You have picked your brain. Any last words on tactical gameness? I mean, you kind of put your final thoughts on people jumping in.
Just go do it. Go have fun.
Go get it. From Kelsey.
I love it.
Be prepared for it to be hard and have a good time. Like, it's awesome.
Well, thank you, and we will chat soon.
Sounds good.
Wasn't that so good? Don't you feel so inspired? Oh man, such a good interview, and it's got me pumped up. I'm really looking forward to getting involved in that. For the ending armed citizen story, I'm going to bring up an oldie but goodie. A husband and wife who were from Texas vacationing in New Orleans, Louisiana. The husband was an active policeman, and while they were looking at their map, trying to figure out where they wanted to go, they were approached by 3 men who tried to rob them and were asking them to get out of the car. And once the policeman got out of the car, found the opportunity, he pulled out his pocket pistol, little 25 cal, and fatally wounded the armed man and got away with it. Thought this story, this happened in February 1987, before I was born. Now you know my age. I'm a young buck. But 1987. And I thought the story was interesting because it shows that pocket pistols can be effective. A lot of times we hear, it's better to not carry anything. If you're going to carry anything less than 9mm, it's a waste. But that's not the case. This off-duty officer was carrying a pocket pistol and used it effectively, fatally wounded one of the bad guys, and was able to save his wife and his life. So hope you all have a wonderful week and hope you enjoyed your Labor Day, and we will see you next week.